Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 from Netflix, I'll say. Starring Sarah Yarkin, Elsie Fisher, Mark Burnham, Jacob Lattimore, Mo Dunford, Olwen Fourier, forgive me if I said that wrong, Jessica Alain, Nell Hudson, and Alice Kriege, directed by David Blue Garcia. Welcome back to Texas Chainsaw Massacre after a couple of years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago, let's say, I reviewed the series back in Halloween in 2020. So let's see if this still is worth the wait. I don't know about this, but we'll see about it. We open with footage from the original and get recapped of what happened nearly 50 years ago in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre as we move on to a convenience store as Melody, played by Sarah Yarkin, and Lila, played by Elsie Fisher, whom I've talked about before in the Despicable Me films, as they ride with Dante, played by Jacob Lattimore, and they're on the way to Harlow, Texas, which is where the events from the original movie happened. As they get on the road, they drive by a weirdo from the gas station where Melody caused some trouble earlier in the film and gets pulled over by the sheriff and arrive to Harlow. And when they get pulled over, it reminds me of what happens today, where unfortunately the African American gets pulled over by the authorities, which is a bad idea to set up for the characters in a horror movie. Dante is a TV chef with Ruth, played by Nell Hudson, as they meet Richter, played by Mo Dunford. And these are terrible fucking characters as they see a flag that sounds horrible and for advertising and go inside the house for Mrs. MC, I'll say, played by Alice Kriege, who sounds like a racist but while calling Dante the N-word and is still living in the house while the bank took her property away as she has a heart attack while living there as Leatherface, this time played by Mark Burnham, as this setup is fucking terrible and stupid. And the characters are horrible. Like Melody says to Lila, she doesn't know what she wants, and she wants to live with her father of Melody moving to Harlow. And this as the setup is once again terrible. Mrs. MC, dies from a heart attack while riding with Leatherface, and Ruth, as Leatherface kills the sheriff, gets the car into an accident as all this has been quickly starting horribly, while Lila tells Richter about a shooting she went through where she got shot, is still alive. And this is reminding me of what the news tells me sometimes when it comes to gun shootings at schools, which is such a horrible thing to make a plot as a point of a fucking horror movie. And honestly, I don't really care for these fucking characters, even Leatherface, as this shouldn't have been made in the first place. And like so many other fucking movies on Netflix, turns out to be bad. But this is by far the worst I've seen Netflix do with the movies, and the worst in the series, as I was dreading watching this movie a second time, like I was with Leatherface, but it's down that territory for damn sure. Ruth is killed by Leatherface crashing the car as she tries to get out of it, but Leatherface sees her and stabs her in the stomach, and do I care about this death? Absolutely fucking not. While a bus full of passengers celebrating Dante's show as Richter believes they killed Miss MC and takes the bus car keys away from our main characters. And all of this is just a bunch of bullshit to begin with. We catch up with Sally Hardesty, played this time by Olwen Fourier, forgive me if I said that wrong, learns Leatherface is around and killing again as she goes after the motherfucker, and despite the original actress who played Sally is dead, may she rest in peace, I think the choice of bringing her back was the wrong move, unlike the 2018 Halloween where everybody was excited Jamie Lee Curtis was coming back as Laurie Strode. But here, I don't really care for Sally Hardesty coming back like I did with Laurie Strode. Dante gets killed back at the house by Leatherface, as this movie isn't scary nor suspenseful, as this movie is bland and not scaring me at all, which is really sad in my opinion. Leatherface hears the music bus full of people partying, and so does Melody as she hears Leatherface breaking the wall in the house to grab a chainsaw and goes inside the bus. And not only the contractor Catherine, played by Jessica Alain, sees Dante as dead, but Richter, as later on, so does everybody in the bus while filming Leatherface as he kills and excuse me. I thought about saying out loud to the TV, don't just fucking stand there, run for fuck's sakes. As this movie is so full of bad choices, it's not funny at all. This movie has so many problems as it goes on for 80 minutes for being a very, very bad movie. Meanwhile, Sally looks for Leatherface and follows the track where he went to the sheriff car back as Harlow, and she'll see a bunch of people dead while Lila finds her sister Melody somewhere under the house. She escapes that without getting killed, but gets herself chased by Leatherface with a fucking chainsaw. And I already brought up the bus scene, which was so goddamn painful to watch. Richter and Catherine get killed, and I could honestly care less as I'm checked out of this movie because the choices being made are just the worst. Sally arrives as Melody and Lila, and she gets them in the car. Sally gets out of the car and grabs her gun to shoot Leatherface dead. And is it just me, or is Leatherface like Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Freddy Krueger, where he's unlikable, which is, again, a stupid choice for this movie, as it's a bad idea while Sally confronts Leatherface, and he doesn't remember Sally and her friends, and again, bad choice. Leatherface goes outside to attack Lila, and Melody and Sally comes shooting at Leatherface and tells the girls to get the fuck out of there, which I would be doing too while Sally is killed and her death is painfully awful. And Lila and Melody run Leatherface over, and Melody tells Lila to run away as she realizes she needs Melody, which is a terrible choice at time, while Melody says sorry for killing his mother. And Lila comes in with the gun but can't fire it, and she runs until Sally gets Leatherface and shot as she says Leatherface will never haunt you again. And Lila decides to grab Sally's gun and kill off Leatherface as she goes inside the house, and I'm thinking she's completely fucked at this point until Melody comes in to save her life, and Leatherface kills Melody, and we have the same shot as the original movie where Leatherface is dancing, going crazy with a chainsaw, while he has a beheaded head, and the movie is over, and we get blue credits as the director's middle name is Blue, and the after credits scene where Leatherface drags some bodies. I don't give a shit anymore, as this is beyond the worst movie of this year. My life and my life and of the series. And as for Leatherface, retire the fucking character. I'm done. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 1.0 out of 10. This is, again, one of the worst as well as Leatherface, but here the choices being made by this movie is horrendous, as I was checked out 55 minutes into the movie, as it's completely fucking horrible. I don't like nor care for any of these fucking characters, including Leatherface, as they should officially retire him at this point, as this movie is a bunch of bullshit. Studios should never make this anymore. Never make any more Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I don't care who they are, as this is beyond the worst in the series, and keep making one horrible movie after another. But seriously, retire the whole goddamn series. So I'd like to thank you guys for rejoining me again for Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And until then, vroom, vroom, vroom.